All these unicorns. I'm really excited. Hi everyone. I have finally made it to Estonia, or in other words, to the land of unicorns. I never thought that unicorns would like cold weather, but then on second hand, maybe there is something magical about having 4 seasons, snowy forests, and frozen Baltic Sea. So maybe that's why the magic happens here. And I can't wait to start my transformation and hopefully become a unicorn too. So here we have a map, which is the journey that we're going to do today together. A pilgrimage on the trail of unicorns. And who knows? Maybe we will even get a chance to meet a unicorn on the way. But let's look more closely at what awaits us. So first, we're going to talk about establishing a company. Then we're going to move on to government innovation. And then we're going to talk about taxes, which is very important. Looks like we're also going to hear about some real experiences and get some overview of the local startup and investment environment. And it seems like the unicorns do attract everybody, including venture capitalists, which we're going to talk about in the very end. Our unicorn journey is going to take approximately 30 minutes. So let's begin, because time flies when you're having fun.
Here's an overview of how to start up in Estonia. Firstly, e-residents can establish and manage a paperless EU-based company fully online. Create a trusted location-independent business with minimal cost and hassle-free administration. If you don't have an Estonian address and you want to apply for business banking, contact a business service provider to obtain a legal address and cover your company banking needs. In Estonia, you can register the company online at e-business registry. If or when your company has employees, register the employees in the employment register. Secondly, the Estonian Startup Visa helps non-EU founders grow their startup in Estonia and eases the process for Estonian startups to hire non-EU talent.
It seems like establishing a company is not that hard as I would have thought. But now we're moving on to our next point, which will be government innovation. I have here with me Marten Kaevats, and thank you for joining us here today. Could you please tell us first, what is your job and what do you do?
So basically, I'm the National Digital Advisor for the Estonian government. This means that I'm responsible for everything digital and innovation-related issues in the Estonian government, which it basically means that I'm a kind of an in-house visionary responsible for the governance architecture here in Estonia.
Okay, and what is your everyday, what is it that you're trying to do? What is the vision that you're trying to get through?
So basically, I'm here as a community builder and as an architect to actually help people and companies get their stuff done as easy as possible. And the main lesson learned from building a digital society in Estonia is that this actually has got very little to do with technology and everything to do with building a mindset and culture that is ready to adopt constantly.
Okay, do you think that there is this mindset right now in Estonia, and do you think there is a mindset to also have outside companies to have and start over here, and is the government trying to support that as well?
Yes, definitely. But as one of those examples is that Estonia is currently actually working hard, and I'm kind of responsible for that. Probably everyone has noticed that the pandemic has a bit changed our lives. We are not able to travel, or many of our physical infrastructure pieces have become obsolete. then we are working hard, for example, with the World Health Organization to build a global architecture of trust so that this kind of traveling and exchange of data and cross-border services can be enabled. And I think everything is built on that mindset, that it's more of a can-do mindset rather than don't or no or but. So yes, I think that we have built a very good foundation for innovation. But yes, we're also on the way, and the road is longer than usual.
Okay, but if you could choose, if you could have like one dream that would come true when it comes to your job, what would it be?
So basically, in an ideal world, we are working on a new governance architecture scheme, which is based on domain-driven microservices and asynchronous messaging spaces, which basically means that we will be able to make governance architecture as adaptive as possible. And what this actually means is that currently governments and civil servants globally, I would argue, lack any sort of digital competencies. So we're figuring out how to build a toolbox so that each of the different governments can actually be super flexible in changing their own services and thus changing the human relationships between them. But what's more important in Estonia is that this architecture will enable us to actually automatize, let's say, 90 to 95% of all routine bureaucracy in the next 10 years. If you can imagine a government without filling out any papers, any bureaucracy, then that's something that to hope for and to work for.
Yes, and it's probably a big support for the private sector as well when this kind of relationship can be established.
Exactly, because with the same kind of architecture, we will be opening up the governmental architecture, the GovTech in a way, to private sector companies as well, because we here in Estonia know pretty well that innovation is not necessarily made in boring meeting rooms and corridor, but it's rather made with different people, with different backgrounds, and working together with all of the stakeholders, the private sector, the NGOs, is critical for the success, the adaptive nature of governance. Because, civil servants are not necessarily the origin of innovation. But government is here to provide this safe and secure room, a place where that synergy and innovation actually can happen.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. So this is the picture we're getting from the government and the support that the private sector is getting from that side. So that sounds quite incredible. To me, it seems already like Estonia is a real startup jetty. The e-residency and all these investment opportunities, it is like a carefully fertilized soil for unicorn growth. But when you talk about growth, we cannot bypass the taxes, because when you take some, you always give some. So now we're going to open our next tool and see what the taxes system is like in Estonia.
Let's start by saying that Estonia is ranking first in the OECD Tax Competitiveness Index for the 7th year in a row. Sounds unbelievable, but Estonian resident companies and the permanent establishments of foreign entities are subject to 0% corporate income tax for all reinvested and retained profits. The rate of social tax is 33%, from which 20% for social security and 13% for health insurance. Besides the social tax, unemployment insurance tax at a rate of 0.8% must be paid on the gross salary. It really only takes 3 minutes to file your tax declaration, and you don't need a tax advisor to do that. The Estonian labour market can be described by a highly skilled workforce, simple and straightforward labour legislation, and easy hiring processes. Speaking foreign languages and using the internet on a regular basis is just so widespread. Although Estonia has introduced the annual immigration quota for non-EU nationals, there is no limit to startups, IT specialists and top-level specialists, whose monthly income is at least equal to double the average gross salary in Estonia.
Did you just hear what he said? Can you really declare your taxes in 3 minutes? Like, wow, Estonians really know how to save time. And as a living proof, I have a man here who named his company after the fastest man on earth. So let's see what he has to say about everything that we have talked about so far. So hi, thank you, Marten, for joining us here today. You have started a company named Bolt. Could you first tell us briefly what is the company about and how it all started?
Bolt is the leading urban transportation platform. We operate in more than 200 cities and 40 countries, and we have more than 1 million drivers and 50 million passengers on our platform. And we have 3 main pillars. We have ride-hailing, micromobility, electric scooters, and food delivery. And we have raised about 300 million euros to our Estonian headquarters. And we have operated 7 years.
Okay. And how do you feel you started your company in Estonia? Because obviously you're Estonian, but you have kept it here. Do you feel it is good to have a company on your headquarters here in Estonia? Do you feel it's a good place to have a company in?
Sure. As we just heard, you can really start the company in 20 minutes online. That's what we actually did. We have a great talent pool here in Estonia, but also we have big countries around us, Russia, Eastern Europe, where you can actually get very cost-effective labor and very highly talented skills of software developers and other roles. We have a very lively community. And finally, we also can reach out to other founders who can support you, who have previous experience. We have VCs and other advisors, and it's very easily accessible also to go abroad. So I think it's a very, very good place to build a company from.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk a bit about the startup community? Because Estonia is quite small, and I imagine that the community is quite small as well. Do you feel it's supportive, or is it competitive? Do you share your ideas or give any recommendations? How does the community function?
I think it functions very well because Estonia is just 1 million people and the home market is so small so that everyone's actually trying to go abroad. Everyone's building a company with a vision to go global. And that's why if everyone's in their own niche, we are not competing face-to-face, but we're actually supporting each other. So everyone can share knowledge. We have Startup Founders Society, which has 150 members, and everyone's really actively supporting each other. So if you need a lawyer to go to US or you need something else, background about VC, everyone's lively sharing it at Slack. So that's very, very supportive. The second thing, our society is so small, you can actually meet everyone. So you can meet unicorn founders, you can meet politicians, you can meet the investors. It's really small and vibrant community. Plus also, we have lots of events, co-working spaces and all of that. And the community is already mature enough so we can give back. So we have established 2 years ago the Education Foundation, which is a philanthropy fund to boost innovative education activities in Estonia. And recently, we just announced that the community is starting a coding school for 200 people in Eastern Estonia. So also to bring that part of Estonia to create job possibilities and then future opportunities in the IT area. So that clearly shows that it's, again, the community is active and it's a really good place where exactly you can declare your taxes. I don't even recall when I gave any signature in Estonia on paper. It's all digital.
Okay. Yeah, the innovation that you started in East Estonia sounds really innovative and amazing that you're doing something like this and really giving back to the community. Could you, before we finish, tell also how hard has it been or easy to find people to hire? Now you're sort of teaching the new generation to join you, but so far, is Estonia a place where it's easy or hard to find people to work for you?
Estonia is small, so in that sense, our talent pool is somewhat limited, but again, the quality is very, very good. But nowadays, when you really grow the company, we have a very good image, and I think we bring in more than 50% of talent from abroad. So from Eastern Europe, Western Europe, globally. So when you have a good mission as a company and people actually believe it, then they are happily also willing to move to Estonia and really join our ecosystem and help to build these great companies we have here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us here today. So that was a real unicorn that we just met. Thank you, Martin, for sharing. The ease of business management seems to be easy because unicorn horns are popping out all over in Estonia. And I honestly have to say that I'm getting a bit suspicious because it sounds almost too good to be true. But to find out more about this, I thought I will call Michael, who is a friend of mine in America. He should bring some clarity into this question because after all, he is the vice president of operations at Clarifai, which is an American company that has recently expanded to Estonia. Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Could you please start by telling us briefly what does Clarifai do, what the company is about?
Great. Well, Clarifai, first off, thank you very much for having me here. Very excited to be on. And so Clarifai, we are an AI platform company. We start off doing computer vision, but are now a full end-to-end AI platform, handling everything from computer vision, natural language processing, speech, as well as deployments, and come up with AI strategy. So if you're a company that needs AI in any way, we can help you soup to nuts. So that's what Clarifai does. We were founded about 7 years ago. We're based out of New York. We have offices in DC as well as San Francisco. And really at the end of last year, we realized, we're growing very quickly, looking to hire a lot more people. And we're looking for someplace outside the US. We have a lot of customers outside the US, and we know there's talent outside the US as well. And certainly the past 4 years has been a little more difficult bringing great talent into the US. And so we looked around, we had to get an office outside, and went really all around the world looking for offices. Certainly looked throughout Eastern Europe, looked in South America, we looked in Asia, South Asia, even looked in Africa. And Estonia just kept coming back. And to be completely disclosive to you, when I have a long-standing interest in Estonia. After college, I was a Fulbright scholar at the University of Tartu, where I was focused on foreign direct investment in emerging markets, and particularly how companies can open up offices in Estonia. So I spent a lot of time looking into it, and but we did look everywhere else as well. And quite frankly, Estonia, just for so many reasons we can talk about later, just was really the perfect place for us to open up our first overseas office.
Okay, but can you now actually talk about why did you choose Estonia from all the countries?
So first off, the quality of the people in Estonia are just excellent, talented people. The education system is absolutely terrific. So you have a lot of, and very technical, which is great. The startup scene, everyone's very familiar with how a startup works, very supportive of it, also excellent. Creating an entity there was shockingly easy. I was really surprised when I talked to the shout out to James York and Viral Epic over at Invest Estonia when they were talking about how quickly we could open an entity. They said it would take about, I think, a month, and they weren't far off. It took us 6 weeks. However, those 6 weeks did include Christmas and New Year. So it was just great. I didn't think we were able to do as quickly as we did, and we were able to do it. So in addition to that, the one thing I think that a lot of countries, I think, can boast that. But in addition to that, Estonia also has a great policy in which you're able to bring people from all around the world into Estonia very quickly and get them up and running. And there are people they love Estonia. We have people in our office right now from every corner of the globe, obviously from Eastern Europe, from South Asia, East Asia, South America. We even have an American, and people love it. They absolutely love living in Estonia. It's a great place to be. It's a great place if you have a young family. It's a great place to be if you're young. It's a great place. And so they're able to. It's safe. It's clean, and it's a great way of life. So what you end up seeing is being able to, again, have local people that are great, be able to have a culture that supports it, be able to have a regulatory environment that is favorable to startups, and you're also able to bring in the world's best and brightest to help grow out your business.
That was Michael sharing his experience. And it seems like it really is all true. And this call was made via Skype, which is obviously the mother of the Estonian unicorns. But how do Estonians make it all work? We move on to our next step, which is Startup Environment Overview.
According to Index Venture, startups are less prone to fail here, and Estonia has been perceived as an extremely attractive place for business, thanks to its reasonable business policy and a credible, transparent business environment. Yes, we already have 5 unicorns. Estonia has a busy, vibrant and open startup ecosystem eager to boost ambitious individuals and startups. The startup ecosystem works closely with governmental authorities to make Estonia the best place for startups to grow. By joining the database, your startup will be visible to potential investors, industry partners, and the community. And you have the option of getting up-to-date offers for your specific industry.
And now I'm just really blown away. It seems to be like a honeypot for investors, but don't take my word for it, because now I have here the chairman of the Estonian VCA, and I'm sure he will back me up on this. So we're moving on to our next chapter, which is talking about investments. Hi, Margus. Thank you for joining us today. Can you first tell us briefly what your job is about, what is the Estonian VC market, and what the fund is like, and what is it that you do?
So Estonian funding ecosystem is great for all early-stage founders across different verticals. And it is really in the beginning, when you start your business, the great thing is to find awesome angel investors. And there are plenty in Estonia. So most angel investors are very professional over here, and they really come from, and they share their experience, as most of them are unicorn founders or early employees of startups. They really understand your business, they really understand your ambition going global, and best advisors in your early journey. And we really take care of all the phases also in EstVCA, the association that develops the funding ecosystem, so that the funding is in early stage in place when you grow seed and A round funding. And of course, for later stage, international funds are very excited about companies growing out of Estonia as well.
Could you just mentioned that there are different phases in this process. Could you tell us what the phases are and how does it work when you're actually starting out and trying to find funding?
So it's very natural to find great angels in first place. And after a few months, hopefully 12 months or so, you have proved your early traction. There are a lot of seed funds available, and not only in Estonia, but all neighbor countries' funds are actively looking at the region as well, and willing to invest in Estonian startups. Quite naturally, in late seed A rounds, a lot of syndications happen. So as Estonia is in the spotlight of some of the world's best investors, because of the Skype, because of the success cases here in Estonia, then quite many rounds happen actually based on syndications. Local funds investing together with outside funds, and quite often actually from your target market. If your aim is to go to US, there are quite many US funds who invest in Estonian startups. If it's Europe, UK, Germany, then all these funds are looking opportunities in Estonia, scouting all opportunities.
Okay, if I'm starting out, trying to do my own startup, what are the suggestions for someone who is starting or recommendations how to get the thing started? Are you the person to come to contact, or where does it all start from?
At first place, it's great to have awesome idea. And it's great if you have also a small team in place. But having said that, Estonian investor community is very active, working actively together. And Estonian investor community is very accessible. So we are happy to meet startups, either they are raising money or not. Happy to reflect, share our experience, tell us what we have seen around the world, similar type of businesses, potential competition, original ideas that you might consider as well. So it really starts with meeting early with investors who are happy to have a chat with you and advise as well what would be the next best steps moving forward.
Okay, that is incredible. Thank you so much for joining us here today. So that's how it's done in Estonia. To me, it seems like it's a really nice pool that once you get in, you don't really want to get out anymore. And it seems to be equally fun for everyone, whether you're an aspiring startup or you're an investor looking for new opportunities. To me, it seems that Estonia is the perfect place to be, really, for both. For more information, please contact Estonian Investment Agency and visit investinestonia.com. A big thank you to Estonian Investment Agency and EstVCA for making this masterclass happen today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you soon in Estonia.